huge part of that back when he was alive. Joining us right now from CBS Sports, my dear friend and yours, many, many years of service, and we're so glad to have him, Dave Richard. Dave, it's Jason. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. If you went to an Italian restaurant and you got like the greasiest thing on the menu, would your name be Parm Michael Dave?
Look, you see, and that's why we get along so well right there, because he's not afraid of dad jokes.
Yes.
Not afraid of dad jokes at all. As a matter of fact, it would be. I honestly thought you were going to want to lead with college football.
No, I don't want to talk about college football, although I will be in attendance.
Really?
For the Canes A&M game, which will be the bellwether game that tells me just how badly we'll lose to Florida State later on this year. Will it be like a 10-point loss? Will it be a 40-point loss? We're going to find out.
Well, we got it.
Kudos to your guys, man. They look outstanding.
We've got fantasy football we got to talk about, but I will tell you, David, this is Jason Ross's fault largely. My father turned 80 last April, and I'm hoping the schedule works out here. As you know, my parents are Florida State grads. I am just days away from perhaps booking. See, we've never seen a Florida State game live together, and it just so happens that Florida State hosts Miami in November in Tallahassee, and then the following day is the 49er Jacksonville game.
Yes.
So I think we're coming out for both of those, and that's your neck of the woods anyway, so maybe we can high-five each other at some point.
Neck of the woods meaning 5+ hours away from me?
Yeah, I mean, you're on the East Coast.
Woods. Yeah.
I mean, my arms aren't that long.
True or false?
There will be a high five. I'm telling you, like one of these summers, we'll be in Las Vegas at the same time.
We already know half my friends in Vegas anyways.
Maybe they don't talk to me anymore.
We had our draft 2 days ago, and Phil Oates and Dave ran into each other last year, and Phil's accusing me of having you co-draft for me, which if you saw my team, you would take that as an insult, if I'm being honest.
Not surprising.
True or false? We talked about this yesterday. I wanted to run this by you. The 4 most difficult players when it came to drafting were Travis Kelce because of the knee, Cooper Kupp, and Jason, I forget the other two.
I know you, Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor is going to be on your list.
Yeah, and then I feel like there's one more I'm forgetting.
Jerry Jeudy, maybe?
It might have been Jeudy, Kamara. Yeah. I know it wasn't those two, but you're right. Those go on the list. There were definitely some players in here. This is a really weird, let's take a chance type of draft season.
There were, and it's funny because everybody associates football injuries with running backs.
Yeah.
And so far there hasn't been like a major running back injury, but there's been like 5 wide receiver injuries, and then Kelce's hurt, and then Mark Andrews won't even guarantee that he'll play in week 1. So there's it's so strange, and it's just the nature of professional sports and professional football, Dave, where players play this game, they're just as capable of getting hurt. It doesn't really matter what position you play. Obviously, running backs do take more wear and tear on. They get tackled to the ground more. They get hit more. But, I mean, Cooper Kupp is getting his hamstring messed up in practice.
Yeah.
And so you just never know with these guys. At least there's some good news with some of the players you talked about. It sounds like Kelce is a shot for next week. He's got 10 days to rest up and be ready for the game against the Jaguars. And Jerry Jeudy's been practicing. Terry McLaurin looks like he's going to be good to go. But it's almost like if you can put together just a group of guys who play professional football that play 17 games, you're going to make the playoffs in your fantasy league. Like, it really comes down to something like that, especially since the replacement level quality of a bunch of the guys that you'll draft and then get hurt just isn't that great anymore.
Dave Richard, CBS Sports, taking your questions. You can text them in at 916-339-1140. You can call them in at 1-800-920-1140.
So, Dave, last night, obviously it's just one game, but I think one of the trends besides all the Chiefs drops for Patrick Mahomes. Kelce will be the fantasy play. There's no doubt about that, but that offense still should be very good. Do you envision one of those receivers stepping up to be even worthwhile fantasy-wise?
I do, and I think it'll be Sky Moore. And I know that people who drafted him and started him, or maybe didn't even start him, but you just see the box score, you're going to be upset with what you got out of him. But here's who he is. he is a very good short area receiver. I noticed yesterday, I've already gone back and watched the game. He got open more often on shorter routes. He was covered on 10 of his 29 routes. That includes a couple of times where he was running just a go route, where he's clearing out for other players underneath on the field. He was a blocker on another route. For the most part, I think he can get himself open and be an available target for Patrick Mahomes. It's just not a juicy one. He's going to need volume, but I think he can get there because Kadarius Toney didn't even play 20 snaps yesterday.
Yeah.
And his playing time is going to go down until he can actually catch a football. And while there are some other players on the Chiefs who are explosive, one is a rookie, one has barely played in the NFL and has dealt with injuries his whole life, and another one is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who's been inconsistent when he's played. So I think Sky Moore, by default, is going to continue to see a lot of playing time in that Kansas City offense. He had a nice catch called back. I think eventually you will see him be like a nice safe floor play in fantasy of like 10 PPR points. And then in the weeks where he scores, he could be closer to 20 PPR points. This is my first buy low guy of the season. Your people who just see the box score, they're going to say, oh, I'm going to cut him. Maybe just let him. But before they cut him, you can offer the worst player on your bench, the guy that you would drop to go pick up Sky Moore, and see if you can get him that way. Because I think he's going to have better games, but I think he'll have meaningful games for fantasy managers this year.
One of the frustrating things for a lot of fantasy owners last night was Jahmyr Gibbs, who looked, I thought, really, really good. Yet David Montgomery gets triple the carries, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Great news for Montgomery owners if they started him in deeper leagues. But is Jahmyr Gibbs a guy that you see? Is that somebody that someone might be dumb enough to make vulnerable, you go out and grab? Or if you have Jahmyr Gibbs, are you recommending people hold on to him with both hands?
Yeah. If you've got Gibbs, hang on to him. If the person in your league is a total moron and they've got Jahmyr Gibbs, then go try and trade for him on the cheap, because there's no question he's going to be more involved in the Detroit offense. He only played 27.5% of the snaps, 3 snaps on third or fourth down, 1 snap inside the 10. And if you saw the snap inside the 10, he should have scored on the play. He slipped on the turf. Had a defender juked out of his cleats and had a clear path to the end zone. Would have scored for sure. We'd be having a completely different conversation about Jahmyr Gibbs. But here's another. This is just a fun fact. This is just stuff that you can kind of just laugh at. He had 7 carries in the game, Dave. 6 broken tackles in the game. Avoided tackle rate of 85.7%. It's amazing if you have half of that percentage. This is unreal. I don't know if he can keep up, avoiding a tackle on 86% of his carries, but he's going to be a really good player. The Lions are going to get him more involved, and they just gave us like the tiniest little plastic spoon taste of Jahmyr Gibbs in that game, especially as a pass catcher. There's going to be games later on in the season where he's catching 5 balls, totaling over 100 yards, and not slipping on his way to the end zone. Please go try and trade for him.
Dave, the Niners play the Steelers. Good matchup on paper and in fantasy. What's the best plays for either team, fantasy-wise, Steelers-Niners?
Well, you know what you're going to do with Christian McCaffrey, Jason. You know that he's going to be the star of the 49ers offense. And I think Debo and George Kittle just too good to call a sit. They're going to get out there and play, although the matchup will be difficult for Kittle, so maybe you just lower those expectations a little bit. And you could say the same thing for Ayuk. It's going to be a challenge for him. I think the 49ers want to be more explosive on offense. I don't know if they've got the quarterback to do it, because I'm just not sure how strong Brock Purdy's arm is. But if we're going to pepper Ayuk with 6-7 targets a game in short range, he's going to break 2 or 3 of them for bigger plays. And I think that'll work out against the Steelers. That's probably where I stand. McCaffrey's a must. Debo's going to be a must. Kittle's going to be a must. And Ayuk is going to be, and this is going to be every week for Ayuk, high-end flex, just because his upside is humongous in the game. And then on the other side for the Steelers, I am not a fan of Najee Harris. I would be nervous starting him against this defensive unit. And now that Nick Bosa's back, that pass rush is going to be in Kenny Pickett's face. So Pickett looked amazing this preseason. This is going to be a major test for him. My hunch is that the Steelers are going to try and get the ball out of his hands quickly. That should mean good things for Deontay Johnson. I know George Pickens was the hot topic in drafts from the Steelers receiving corps. He will have his game, but I think this week it's Deontay Johnson who ends up having better numbers.
Lightning round time with David Richard. Watson, Godwin, Lockett. Which two should I start at wide receiver?
Well, if Watson plays, he's a must, and I would go with Lockett with him. But if he doesn't play, then you'll go with the other two.
At flex, Breece Hall, Terry McLaurin, Michael Thomas.
Sounds like McLaurin's going to play. I would go in that direction.
By the way, you okay with Breece Hall as a RB2 right now, or do you need to wait to see how the Cook Hall and the Hall knee thing works out?
No, I'm hoping you can find a better RB2 than Breece Hall for week 1. I know he's going to end up splitting time for the majority of the season. Let's see just how much work he gets in week 1. If he ends up getting a lot, then he'll be a number 2 running back, no, for sure. Remember, Dave, he had 4 amazing games last year, didn't play even 70% of the snaps in any of them.
I don't want to let people down off your Twitter feed. You mentioned sleepers. Who you got for week 1?
I'm thinking more about like rest of season, like guys to stash on your team. I'll give you a guy for week 1. If there is no Christian Watson in Green Bay, Jaden Reed, the rookie wide receiver there, is somebody who I think could step up and be great. 2 players that you should go check your waiver wire for right now. Number 1, Tampa Bay running back Sean Tucker. Really good talent, had a heart condition. That's why he wasn't drafted. The Bucs took a chance on him as an undrafted free agent. He's going to be the number 2 running back behind Rachaad White. And if Rachaad White stinks, Tucker's going to be the guy in Tampa Bay. That's not a bad thing. And then at tight end, we're looking for tight ends now. We know that Kelsey didn't play. Mark Andrews might not play. It's a mess out there. Jake Ferguson of Dallas is worth stashing on benches just to see how he does in week 1. If you can't get him, Gerald Everett is a good streaming play against the Dolphins.
Who's this year's Elf?
Jaylen Warren of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, he's already rostered in too many leagues.
Sure.
So if you can't get your mitts on Warren, go after Sean Tucker.
And for those that are stressing out, whether it's Mark Andrews, whether Travis Kelce hurt him pretty bad, whether it's Cooper Kupp owners, whatever it may be, where can they go to feel better listening to your sweet, sultry sounds?
If you can just Google CBS Fantasy Football, you'll find everything. Our podcast, our live streams on YouTube, our appearances on CBS Sports HQ, and, of course, our rankings, our columns, everything you need to dominate your fantasy leagues.
You're the best in the world. We appreciate it. We appreciate you being back from the northern panhandle area of Florida coming to us. And look forward to talking to you each and every week.
You know, if you just send the private jet, Dave, I can make it happen.
It's on its way.
It's on its way.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, the Richard Express on its way out there right now. See you, buddy. Have a great day.
Good luck in your league, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Bye. Is that on or off? Okay.
That was off.
Jason.
Okay.
Funny things in our ear. We'll take a break. When we come back, Joe Burrow is rich.
Uh-huh.
And it's been a really